walking through the UAT feedback and answering any other questions you guys have regarding the application UAT that we had open for the last 2 weeks. Next week, we're going to be kicking off a lot more UAT. So today, we're kind of wrapping up this final session, getting all of our ducks in a row on application so we can move updates forward on that while we move into some other UAT items next week. As a reminder, when we update UAT next, which will be in the next couple of days, it will completely clear out the UAT environment. So all test data will be completely wiped. We've went in and grabbed most of the feedback and made cards using screenshots and stuff that were provided. I have one or two more pages of the UAT stuff I'm still building cards off of, and I will get that done before that UAT wipe. So we will have what we need. But in case you guys happen to go back into the UAT environment, because it is always open, you might find that your test customers or test data is gone after we do that push. For the UAT session today, or not today, but the last 2 weeks, we had great participation. We had about 30 folks come in and test the application, at least folks who did check in. So very thankful that we got a lot more local participation after our call last week. A lot of folks jumped in and got that out of the way. So thank you for doing that. We're going to start with the application introduction. I'm going to come back to the pre-screen finding stuff if we have time. But really been focusing on the application, knowing there's some pre-screening stuff that we wanted to make sure you guys had space to log. You all can just see my screen, okay, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So some guidance we got. We asked, this was kind of like noted in a couple places, just having some more clear indication of career planner guidance text. So we are going to create a standard UI and any career planner guidance text. We have those located throughout several of the pages. We are going to have a compass icon with a header career planner guidance, and it is going to be in a yellow box. We use blue box for just like high level informational stuff. We're currently using kind of a yellow box to like flag things that might be helpful to know. So we're going to use that UI for the career planner. So consistently throughout pre-screening and application, when you are logged in as a career planner, you get some extra career planner guidance text that a customer wouldn't see. So clear UI to draw the career planner's eye to that, to know that text is extra specific text for them on how to use the information throughout the pages and provide additional context. There was a typo, so I have that flagged in a card. We're also, as we do our testing as we're going through this, we're going to be running that through as well. Then, Robert, you put the find local help. Will this field be removed if the address does not meet the low property and only say if it does? The find local help button on that. This find local help button, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay, so this button will always be here in the event somebody like starts the pre-screening and they're like, wait a second, I don't want to do this in person, or I have more questions. They can click this button. We're also building a widget, so we'll have an additional like little button down here that will clearly like be a standard UI component for the find local help. We'll probably replace this button too to use the standard widget we're creating. Like it's essentially just like a more fancy button.
I thought it was something where it related to the low property area for that address when I was in there putting the address in.
No, we have another question in the application that that will do the high poverty area
Because I think
calculations.
I think I saw it when I added when we got past to the address and I saw that part if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to make sure that because we have two, those were kind of two separate things. So on the application, what is your address? This is your
Yes,
address
right.
and
That's what I
okay.
was talking about. Would that
Okay,
stay there if the property area is considered not a low priority?
so this, we haven't marked it to do because we're finalizing this in development this sprint. It is now kind of auto-populating based on the address you use. What we are going to do is it is not going to be a question you can change. It is going to be locked down and auto-populate, like give you the response based on the address you put in as a career planner. Once you enter an address, the system will tell you right off the bat, like based on the address you put, this is or is not a high poverty area. But the career planners won't be able to change it. It's just going to tell them for reference, and then it'll pull through for eligibility certification stuff when low income is applicable. Um, it will not show to a customer either. That's not something that really the customer needs to know. It's more of an eligibility thing. The career planners need to know to if they're going to be making them eligible under low income or if they're going to have a priority because of low income. um,
Okay.
so that is something we are working on, just finishing that up to make it meet the needs of what we're looking for. That question was actually brought up a couple of times. So I'm going to refer back to this conversation.
Okay. So when I erase everything and the new testing come about, we will be able to do it on our own and not follow a script that's already there because we want to also be able to test when we put different symbols in, would it stop you from doing it, like the zip code, the name? You can't add like hashtag, comma, or whatever in those fields. You will you say that's true?
I think we can add characters in the name right now. The zip code stuff is supposed to, be set so it is looking, there is validation on the address thing. Somebody did note in the name that they could add
Right. You could add,
that.
not ready
Um,
that do like a hashtag at see those kind of symbol. We don't want that to be able to happen in a name. And
yes,
also the same thing with the zip code. You can't add like a certain sign in a zip code. And then with email address, would it feel accept only email address? Would it be sensitive to know that is a valid email address as well? And
yes. So
would it do the nine the is it five the 9-digit zip code as well?
it does the 5-digit zip code. I'm clicking a bunch of other buttons right now. It's not letting me put in more than 5 digits.
So we won't be able
Um,
to do the next four.
right. It's just a five. Are you saying you guys need the 9-digit zip code?
Well, I know some of our staff does use the 9-digit when we have the information, especially when they're dealing with apartments and stuff where they have the extra 4-digit. Well, I see what the panel say. I mean, if it could have like two different boxes, that would be great. But let me hear what everybody else had to say from different local areas and see how often they use it.
Yeah, we don't use the last 4 or 5 digits or whatever it is at all, but the apartment numbers, uh, that one, and then the pre or is there pre or suffix directional, like West, State Street, um, apartment 205 type of thing.
So a second address line.
It's like, if does anybody got access to IES? When we go into that system, you see how you had to break down everything from the street number, like you have 123, that's one box. The S, that's another box. The main is another box, and street is another box. Where the city, state, and zip code is one box. If anybody who's CIES and when you go in there and search for a public aid recipient, it break down each box so you make sure you have it correct.
Yeah, and we have some validation running here. So if we're not finding addresses, we're using, I think
You
it's the
see how you see how you
USPS.
right. You see how you did Main Street in lowercase and it come up recommend with a system. We should have it set up where it's capitalized where it says recommended instead of having it because sometimes when you go to the search, it take the capital over the lowercase. So would it force it to change to the correct address? Is my question.
But it's going to recommend the correct address, but allow you to set the address you pick. What is the benefit of the case change?
Well, on my end, it looked more professional and it looked more standard because from everything that you get mail from government to private sectors and stuff, they really send it out in the right format. And so it's about the look of the address to be stay professional within the U.S. Post Office, where it looked professional coming in and going out. Cause lowercase could sometimes get mixed up because now who knows something could happen. But at least I don't know. That's just my preference. I don't know what everybody else will think about it.
I'll ask the developers, is there a way to standardize capitalization of address information using the USPS address validator in place? I'm gonna check on that. And the 4-digit zip, is that a big thing you guys need to have for the full address? We
Sorry
don't
about
have the
that.
four digit.
I was saying I was on mute. I was talking. I didn't realize I was on mute. Can we like maybe do a voting on it to see what everybody is thinking instead of everybody just hopping up or thumbs up if they prefer it that way?
Yeah, if folks can put in the chat, I see several folks have put in the chat, so thank you. It does, yeah, it does not have the 9-digit and the confirm.
I don't know, is it possible? And, and I get from the developer standpoint, it's,
Oh.
is it, is it cumbersome to add that box? Is it clutter the screen? But, is it one of those, like, if you don't need it, they'd rather not put it in? I can understand that too. But I don't know if it's one of those, like, have the extra four as an option, but not necessary. I mean, I don't think it's necessary, but I do see some people you've mentioned about geocoding and, um, I don't know if having the extra four helps with other areas that might get, like grant initiatives for having to identify really specific census tracts. I don't know if the 9-digit zip code helps in that capacity. It may not, but I'm inclined to vote for the 5. But I mean, I don't know if it's one of those they could, add the other box. You kind of use it if you need it.
Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, I like the 5 and I like the option of doing it, but how we developing this thing, long as we stay concise with everybody in Illinois and want to use the 5, I'm okay with it. I just don't want it to pop up later on and say, "Oh, how come we didn't
Mhm.
add it?" I just want to make sure we voice it now so it was mentioned, so we all have an opportunity to address it. So there's
Yeah,
no fallback to say, "Oh, well, I didn't know, I didn't get the opportunity." Well, we're saying it right now.
exactly. So it
Well,
looks like most people said 5, but I have a
5
note
is good.
here.
5 is good with me.
I have a note here for consideration of having the 4-digit as optional, but I want to look through the implications of I don't think customers are necessarily going to know their 4-digit, and what happens if they see it as a field and they just type in random numbers to quickly move through this. So I want to look at how that 4-digit runs with our address validator, because we really want that address validator in place because that is helping our geocode mapping the most. So that is kind of a technical discussion I want to have, and then we can see where we can go from there. But we know it's not an absolute must have. So once we understand the technical implications and level of effort, we can make that determination. If it's, a super quick thing, we have the time, we can get it added in as optional. All right. Oh, go ahead, Julia.
Just to add, the way that zip code is added in CC, it's usually that 5-digit, and then once the full address is entered, the system recognizes the rest of the 4. So no one's necessarily at the ready to enter a whole 9-digit, right? But I think that was implemented exactly when we added that geocoding report. So.
Perfect. And yeah, I want to see if that's something like our USPS address validator, like you said, can just populate for us.
Yeah, I feel like it would. Yeah.
Mm. This question is the career planner that starts the application with the customer, the career planner that is then assigned to the customer. Nope, we're still working on the piece that's going to allow us to assign a career planner, and it does not have to be the same person who does the application with the customer. If the customer completes the pre-screening on their own, can they decide they need assistance with the application? How does the customer know how to then connect with live person for the additional assistance? Will they then just provide the number to the OEA's main line? So I'm going to show you, I put the answer in the text here for anybody who wants to read that, but I'm going to show you how that will work. So like I said, we are going to have this find local help piece is going to be embedded throughout the entire pre-screen and application process. So at any point in time when they're going through these pages, we want to have this find local help feature available on all of the pages. And then when they get to, let me jump back here to a completed app. When they get to this next step page, oh, hold on. I want to do this as the customer view. Let me go back to and add Anders profile, copy the customer view. And then right. So what the customer is going to see when they are doing the pre-screening on their own, we still have to embed some things here, but they're going to see like how they can start the application. They can start the application now using our secure online website and click the button, or they can get in-person help and connect with a nearby center. And this is going to pre-populate the data that they've entered and show them the offices close to them that they can get assistance with. This is test data. Remember, live data will be all of our local offices, our comprehensive, affiliate, and specialized that we manage through entity management. And it will map them and they can get that information. It'll be the right, it'll have data in here, unlike our test data. They can then choose to get directions or contact the center. And we're building a contact form they can fill out and send. And we're building entity management so that we can identify when it is an OWIA office. You can add contacts, and when you add those contacts, you can identify of the contacts who you want to receive these contact us submissions. And then the customer has both options. They can choose to call themselves or go in themselves, or submit a contact request for any questions or needs that they have. Paul, you have your hand up. You're muted if you are talking.
Sorry about that. So you mentioned that it would find the nearest location, right?
Yes, but it shows multiple. So it takes the address that was put in, and like that red dot is the address, and then you can see that it's showing me the offices in that vicinity, the 25-mile radius, and you can
Okay.
change that, and it's
So
showing you which ones.
so is there a way, is there a way for it to um give the locations of the nearest office in their counties or the Alwea area that they would normally be served out of? So, because what I get is we get a lot of people in the Rockford area. We primarily serve the Boone, Winnebago, and Stevenson County, but we get people from Garden Prairie, which is like what is that, Kane County, and we get people from other surrounding counties that apply to our office because um, when they go to like the Illinois WorkNet search and they put in, search for a local office, it gives all of these. So their distance from where they live in a different county may be closer to one of our satellite offices. And so then they apply to our program instead of the office in their own county. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So is there a way to potentially have the search results bring up locations within the county of where their address resides or within the Alwea areas in which they reside, if that makes sense?
I will have to check with the state on that because I think they're working on changing policy because we want to allow the customer to be served in the office that is the best for them to be able to get back and forth to. Because, like, are you saying, Paul, like the office is closest to them, it's just and not in their county? Maybe the one in their county is 20 miles away, but the one outside their county is 2 miles.
Right.
But
And then the other thing is, this kind of goes into the budget issue, right? Because every area has their own budget. They've been issued a budget, right? And so if we in our count in my three counties, we have plenty of people to use up the budget and we're always short on budget and run out every year, right? Just serving the people in our three counties, we don't necessarily want to spend that money on people from other counties where they could be getting services from those counties who may have the money. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Because we get a lot from the
If
surrounding counties, and we're like, like we're kind of short on funds.
Yeah, we get that too
well,
from
if
our
I can
area as
interject
well.
though, I get this is Mark Burgess. I get the concern if they're being directed to your offices incorrectly for some reason, whatever the map or something doesn't seem to direct them to the closest location. But to me, if they come to your office and you get their address, you could, kindly ask, say, we have a closer office in X county. Would you not rather be served by them where it's more convenient? If the system is sending them to the closest facility, that's the most convenient to them, and that's what we need to be doing from a customer-centered perspective. If they're sending them to the wrong facility, then I think you just I mean, we can look at this with Al and Olivia and the team to make sure the closest facility and the next, whatever, a list from, fewest miles to most miles is being identified. But, you know, some people just like going to certain places for whatever reason. And especially in the Chicago area, it might be a transportation issue. It's easier to get somewhere 5 miles away because of transportation than it is 2 miles away because there is no transportation.
and I think something we can talk about too with the state as we're working through, policy changes and stuff is how can we look at supporting this change through what you're saying, Paul, is like the budget's not taking into consideration you guys are getting an overflow of people being served outside of your counties.
Right,
And
right.
so I don't necessarily know it's that we force the old way and make them go somewhere further, but like how can we look at understanding that and like updating policy and practice so that we can accommodate our customers in the customer centered way of allowing them to go outside their LWIAs and counties and be mindful of that. So I have it flagged. Purple means I need to have more state conversation or action. So I have it flagged. I definitely want to note this to the policy and training team that is looking closely at these items. Because I think that's a good point that you brought up. I don't necessarily know that it'll be a change to the system. It'll probably end up being a change to policy and practice so that we can support this more customer centered design and vision we're trying to move the system towards.
But I don't think we can have a policy that says they need to be served by the county they live in or the LWIA they live in. I don't think we can put a policy like that in. So I'd be
Right.
careful.
No, I'm saying they're
Okay,
working
okay.
on locals have policies that say that, and they're working on trying to write a state policy that kind of broadens it. So we're not doing that, but we can look at other ways we could support the locals to allow them to serve people outside of their county. Definitely not going to write policy that says you cannot serve customers.
Okay.
Right.
Misunderstood.
Sorry if
Thanks.
that's the way it was
Yep.
understood. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely don't want people to think that's what I said.
Yeah,
Um,
this is Joel. Mark, yeah, I just want the idea here is just to cover our rear ends with our local CEOs and boards wanting to know why we're spending money on people who don't live in their areas. If we were saying if especially in those years when we're short on funds, so it's more
No,
of
I totally understand where
yeah,
each of you are coming from with the limitation of funds, but I don't think, and especially from a customer centered design perspective, I don't think we can have a system that says dictates to someone where they have to go for services. And
right. We just
so,
want to be able
I think
to
we
go
we
to them
assist
and
them
say
yep, we assist them
we're
the best we
serving these
can, and
people.
yep, and priority of service comes in, and if you start running out of funds, you have to say, you know what, we've got a waiting list at this point, but you might be better served to go to another location. We can certainly give you those other location contacts and addresses or whatever. But again, I don't think our system can direct them to where they have to go versus where it
mhm.
might be most beneficial to them, especially when they start saying, well, I don't have transportation. And they said, well, I came to you because the bus goes right by my house and goes right by your office. Yet there's another location they'd have to take a taxi to that would cost 5 times as much. You know what I'm saying? I think that's where some of the decisions may be made by the customer as to why they go where they go that we have to respect.
And also that sometimes at that a different location is out of funds, so they recommend and say, hey, contact this local area. They may have still have funds available for your service. Yes, we do want to serve everybody that we can serve. And sometimes you got to look at the distance. They're down in Springfield and want to come up all the way up here for training. Is that logical sense? No, you can't do those kind of stuff because how you going to drive all the way up here every day? So certain things to me, you got to have some kind of restriction to say, okay, we can help you long that it meet that person or the client's, status of getting to the training and doing what he need to get done or she get done to move that person forward. So I understand everything that everybody is saying is just we just want to make sure it's clear to let them know that hey, we could help you. We're not going to turn you back, but we're going sometimes we would have a waiting list of people in our local area, veterans and stuff who would have first priority if funds come available. So it's a waiting list. So we just want to make sure we have something clear and precise so everybody understand the procedure for each local area.
And I just want to clarify one more time before we move on too. So I know there's policy discussions happening around this exact topic because it has been brought up that locals, like some people are like, well, we are only looking to serve people who live or work in our LWIA. And we want to look at expanding state policy to say, no, we serve the customer based on the situation of the customer and what works best for them. So like Mark's example of the bus situation. And so having state policy that supports that. So like in Joel's situation, when he's having people saying, why are you doing this when we're low on funds? Like, why are you serving these people outside? There is state policy to back up this practice of how we serve customers across LWIAs based on their unique situations and needs. Not that we would restrict customers to prevent them from getting services where best suits them. There are lots of conversations happening around policy and procedures. So we will definitely have more information out on that as that is solidified and incorporated into training. So more to come for sure. I'm gonna see I have some stuff coming in the chat. Peek at that real quick, and then we'll keep going through these. So the next question is, if they complete a pre-screen and they are assigned to an LWIA, after they complete a pre-screening, are they assigned to an LWIA? If yes, will the LWIA be notified when a pre-screening is submitted? So they will submit an application. So at the pre-screening level, we're going to have a dashboard similar to the IPATS dashboard, which I know I've worked with several of you on. It will have like an intake section that will have rows that tracks customers through every step of intake and show you counts of where customers are at. You guys can use folks in pre-screening who have not completed and moved into application and submitted application as a contact pool, but we're not requiring you to do action until they submit an application. Once they submit an application, then they will, as part of the submission, select the LWIA using that same tool. They're going to pick which LWIA we're going to say, hey, your next step is you need to meet with a local office, and they will then submit the application and select the local office that they would like to meet with. That local office will be notified, and the customer will also move in the dashboard. The local office will be notified. We're going to have like an administrator role of some kind be notified, and they then can assign the customer to a career planner that a career planner can then work with them to move them through reviewing and completing the application, certifying the application, and moving into the assessing and career plan build portion of program participation. Joel, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I want to go back just a bit when we had the screen where you had for the customer filling out the application and it said, get local help. What will that look like on our end? I mean, is it just that this person has inquired, or I mean, what will it look like when we get the request for assistance?
Are you talking about like when they submit an application or
Well, on the
prior to
screen
that?
where it says on the screen where like if they get stuck, you have the little button that says get local
Yes.
local
So
help.
if they choose, oops.
Is that going to generate something that we get that this person is asking for assistance, or is it just, here's how you call them?
Yes. So if they submit a contact form, they're going to send this contact form, and in entity management, when we set up the local offices, there will be a specific flag on the contacts, and you guys can flag who you want to get these contact submissions. They're going to get an email with the customer information and comment, and we're going to link to if they submitted it through a pre-screen application record, like if they navigated through that record, we are going to pass a link that will take you directly to that customer record. We're also going to have a public web page, and if they submit it from the public web page, they obviously won't have any like pre-screening our application data. But once they start the pre-screening an application, if they submit the contact center, then we're going to give you that link. Additionally, this is something we actually just got a requirements document put together this week to kind of better tie this stuff together, and it's coming soon. But additionally, if the customer submits it from a pre-screener application, they're going to have a pre-record coming through the self-service portal, and we'll put icons on here too to indicate those that have requested contact, with the ability then you can find them through here, or there's going to be a direct link to these through the email, and then you can get in and view their pre-record to help them and get all their information and see their comment. It's going to be managed though through entity management. When an LWIA location, there's contacts, and we're going to have a specific flag where you guys tell us every location will have to have a contact, and it's going to be a new flag that says like this is the contact us contact, and we're going to know that all
Can you add
emails
like
go
a
to them.
secondary contact there? Because
Yeah.
if I'm the primary contact and I'm out of the office, that
Yeah,
it would
so
then go to somebody else.
that tag could be on as many contacts as you want, and whoever has that
Okay.
tag will get the email for anybody who selects for that location, the contact, like that, contact us for the location. We are a future enhancement that we want to work on after we get the must-haves for go live is a better scheduling and communication tool that allows the customers and the local offices to kind of manage more of that information in the system, to like schedule and do the contacts and have a more visible dashboard and reports on all of this. For right now, this is what we are going to have for July 1, but going to be doing significant enhancements to supporting this back and forth scheduling and communication contact us work. Perfect. Sorry, I was looking at the chat, making sure I'm not missing any questions. Paul, I see your one about like they start at one office, but then trainer and Rex come from another county they live in. I have that question copied to take a look at with the state team. Got it right here. The rest of this page, or I guess, was there any questions, any other questions on the kind of the steps we just went through for how the submission and just in general help questions come through? All right. Everybody else was just said things look good. They got through. So just 10-4 to note that I saw that. The next page is the profile. The phone number was not auto-populating correctly. Like the phone number itself on the application. Sorry, I have too many things open here, so I don't have to. I thought it would help me, but now it looks like it's just confusing me. So the phone number, we have cards to better map this because we have this information potentially from the pre-screening and the account creation. So I have cards to make it so if we already know that you have a phone number and it can receive text messages, all this will just auto-populate. Right now, I think it's just auto-populating the phone number, not presetting the questions the way we need it to. So a card has been created to fix that. This is just saying, like, that was good. This is the question about the poverty, high poverty area, which I already answered. So it will auto-populate and you cannot change it. We need to hook up that piece that prevents us from changing it. That's something we're still working on through this sprint. I think it actually might have just got done yesterday. So we kind of already talked about that. If you guys have more questions on that, let me know in the chat or come off mute. Mark the word at. Ah, I see this right here. Okay. I'll add this to my card later. I'm just gonna throw it here so I don't forget. Go ahead. Somebody was talking.
I was, but I didn't want to interrupt your train of thought because I know you're trying to copy and paste and capture that. I didn't want to distract you. Can I ask a quick question on the screen you were just at? You had like it's the one from like the pre-screening has all the icons of the people.
Yeah.
And I do right there. So I do apologize. Well, one, I hate to ask because it might be out of order. You may be getting to this, or you maybe already covered it. And two, I apologize because I think you answered this in the various times that we were kind of testing the different phases of this, like the pre-screening a few weeks ago or whatever. So this may have been answered. I apologize, but we were kind of walking through this as a group last week. Thaddeus and I and our director and some of the career planners just kind of on a big monitor, kind of showing them kind of, this is what it's going to look like, kind of introducing it. And the question came up and I couldn't answer it because I couldn't remember. Like I said, you guys, it probably was given to us the answer, but explained to us. But return to work and get a job. Is there a distinction between the two? I didn't know if one is more they would select that more if they were laid off and want to get back into the same profession or something. I could totally be making that up, but yeah, if I could just if you don't mind, if you just let me know, what's the distinction between those two, or they kind of would selecting either one still, then prompt the following, the subsequent questions and screens, kind of get them on the same path. Like you get, it still gives the idea that they want employment, help getting a job. But I didn't know if selecting one or the other might then, like, is there a distinction as far as like what?
There,
Well, yeah, this one will give them these questions, and this one might give them one extra question or something like that.
there is not a difference. The return to, like, there's not a difference in how you interact with the system across these three job ones. I'm going to bring that to the state because I do start change career. This is like I think we can maybe only have two or word them so it is more clear. Um, return to work is supposed to be like I'm wanting to get back into my previous field versus start change a career is more like I don't
Sure.
have the skills that I would need to get, like I'm gonna need to do something to be ready for a career versus I have already
Right.
have the skills, I just need help.
Or I was in kind of a low wage or very like entry level dead end job or a job that's in decline and I need to pivot and change careers. Like that one we kind of figured that made sense. But the other
Hmm.
one, again, if we're guiding people through this, we just wanted to make sure like, oh, based on your situation, you should check this one versus that one, the return to
Yeah,
work or get a job. So, okay, if they're, yeah, let us know what they say about that. Cause
I will. The get a job, I think was more for people who are like, well, I need to go to training, but I also need like a job to support me. Um, but I'll check on that because we might be able to get the get a job might just fall into one of these two buckets. So I'll look at that because we definitely want it to be clear for folks which they check. And we might even be able to like have like information, like if you hover over it, it kind of explains these a little bit more.
oh yeah, like an eye or an eye bubble. Because get a
Hmm.
job, then yeah, we were kind of interpreting that. Oh, should we have them click that if they just want well, help getting a job at the moment. Like they don't necessarily need training or even career advising, like they kind of know the job that, like they just want resume writing assistance, job search strategies, like get a job is like you said, like that's just to get a job. We were kind of assuming that, but we just wanted to make sure, if there's a difference or if they should be choosing one or the other, based on a specifics of their situation. So we might have been overthinking it a bit, but thank you.
No, I think that's perfect. Um, Allison, are you on the call? She usually is. Yeah, there she is. Hey, would you be able to provide me the address that you used that you thought was high poverty area, but it auto-populated no? You could send it to me privately in this chat or publicly if you don't care if people see it, or over email. Um, we're that this high poverty piece we're still working through, so we're testing a bunch of scenarios to make sure it's calculating correctly in the pre-screening. We had it tested and it was calculating correctly on the back end tool. So I just want to test that. We have tested several and it was working correctly. For the several, like we found specific high poverty addresses and ran them through and made sure they were triggering yes, but I want to look at your specific test case. I'm going to mark this purple because I want to get that from you and do something with it. So action on my end. As a career planner or customer, how would you know if this is a high poverty area? So we have, and we'll talk on this as we do training too. So trainers and career planners are aware. We have built a robust back end that calculates all the various ways high poverty could trigger. So there is a whole document that walks through some state document that walks through if you're like in a county or contiguous counties. Um, I can't remember all the ways off of the top of my head, but the system is running back end calculations based on the address you hit and the variables that you could possibly trigger to be determined in a high poverty area. And if you hit any of those, it is identifying as yes. So the contiguous counties, I think, was the more complex of the calculations. But all of the options in the document I'm thinking of, it has like A, B, C, D ways that you could be determined to be in a high poverty area have been built into the back end of the system to make that determination. And I put in my notes, we work closely with NIU and DCEO to build that back end piece. Go ahead, Cassie, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so thank you for that. And then once that happens, will that populate in the question saying, okay, um, just to give a notification that this may be a high poverty area if we're using that as eligibility?
Yes, so this question is going to kind of be updated, but it'll tell you a career planner if it is a high poverty area, yes or no. And then we're
Hmm.
pulling that through to the eligibility piece. You are not going to be required to upload documentation to verify that because the system has verified that.
Okay.
But it'll show on the documentation piece and like the certification part that it
Hmm.
has been met and is verified via the system. And that can be used for eligibility. And it'll already be like completely done. Like
Okay,
you
that's good. Because
won't need
our local
anything.
area right now have to click on a link, put
Yeah.
in put in the address, then find the address, zoom out on Google. So that is going to be gone.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, we got real familiar with the ways that it has to be done, and there was like a lot of calculations and manual work going in to figure that out. So
Absolutely.
it's something it took us a while to figure it out and define, but we were able to get it all defined. It's just a lot of calculations, and the system is running all of those behind the scenes.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Perfect. And Allison, that's great to know that your address is in a contiguous track. Um, So that'll be good when I get that to note that for our testing purposes, we're specifically testing the contiguous county flow. The next one is on the additional contacts. I have a card created to change what is the person. It says what is your relationship to this person, but the way that the drop down is set up, it is what is the person's relationship to you. So I have that a card to update that question text. We do not require, I noticed, oh, you also put here, so there's two things. We do not, we removed collecting the physical address for the contact. We want the physical address for the customer, but we determined there was not really a reason that we would want the physical address for that. Various contacts is something that they would provide us. We're more wanting a phone number and optionally an email address to reach out to them if we can't get in contact with the customer. The email address is optional because we know not everybody will have an email. We were wanting contacts who have phone numbers that we can call, whether it's a home cell or work. And I marked that I can run past the state if email can be moved to required. But it was something for the contacts. They were really not wanting to overcomplicate the data the customer had to provide for additional contacts. We also have drafted a card to provide overview purpose text for the contact page so that the customers can understand like why we're asking this information. And then as part of that, we will not require contacts to be added unless they're under 18. And that logic is also in the card for the overview text to make sure that it is, I thought it was for under 18, but I was able to trigger it without. So I have a card to look at that logic and get that overview text put into place. David, you have your hand up.
Just a tip about explaining additional context. We've had some success by clarifying that, hey, if we send you a check and it comes back to us, we want to know who do we notify that we have a check for you. And we generally get a lot of cooperation when we talk money.
Okay, that's very good to know. I am gonna actually.
Tax forms, another example. We send out the tax forms this time of year, and when they come back,
Save that in my card so I make sure to take a look at that overview text and see maybe I can give an example, like for example, what you said, David. Wrong screen. A lot of these down here repeats. Feel free to come off of mute if you have more questions on these. I'm going to go a little quickly through them. Again, we're not requiring them unless they're under 18. Love those types of real world examples to be used in TA. Thanks, Dave, and anyone else. If you have these types of tips, please share. That was from Mark in the comments. I made a card that will allow us to edit and delete contacts. So if they realize, oops, I typed something in wrong, you can just edit it. And then also deleting them, the deletion will be at the application and also at the customer profile level. So the customer profile consumes a lot of the application data to display. The application data is locked once certified, but you can still maintain information on the customer profile. So if it's like somebody who's already had an application like in this, like a couple of years ago, and it pulls in 5 or 6, they might want to delete a few. And then also at the customer profile level, if you learn like during program participation, something happened and this contact is no longer a part of the customer's life, you can remove it from their profile. The same thing, just overview text. So that same card supports, I think it was the same one as up here. Yeah. We have a card created to address that. I actually wanted to leave this one red. The rest of these just, they were good. Chris, somebody had noted the symbols, so I have that flagged. Next was the veterans page. The next button, the buttons on the page, they say next page and previous page. I believe, like Crystal said in her comment, that does it let you know? It lets you know it's saving when you click the button. But customers might be nervous that their data isn't going to save when they're doing this. So we can put the word save in next page or save in previous page in here to just give customers the confidence that by moving off the page, they're not losing anything. Notebook. I thought there was a version we saw where the headers on the side turn green with the sections that are successfully completed. So you probably saw this in some discovery work. As part of the eligibility certification process, the career planners will have to review the entire application. There are also questions in the application that are also customer facing. So they will have to finish the application. There's a couple questions that we don't ask a customer that they have to answer during eligibility certification. So when you come in as a career planner, or if you're coming in during eligibility certification review, we will incorporate those icons. Those are the next piece we're going to be working on to show green, the page has been reviewed and all of the questions have been answered, or they will be yellow if all of the questions have been answered, but a career planner hasn't looked at the page. And then they will be like the red circle with an X if data is missing, like there's a question that still needs answered on the page. So those are coming. You probably saw it in discovery work when we were looking through the requirements document for eligibility cert. So just giving context to that it's coming soon. And then the rest was things looked good. Then we get to the big one, the private page. This private page has quite a few questions, but it's really pulling a lot of the previous pre-screen data and confirming it. So the pre-screen has a getting started assessment where we're asking about customer situations like childcare and healthcare and legal needs. And so if we flag on there, they answer something in a way that would potentially equate to they have children. It might not always be the case, but most of the times it is. It is consuming that I have stable childcare means you have children. So we're going to answer yes to I have children. We're still working on making sure all that mapping is in place. Let me jump to that page real quick. We're still making sure that all the mapping from the pre-screen questions here are in place. It is for most of them. We were having some issues with the childcare one specifically, so we have 2 cards out to help better map that. But if we put that we had legal issues, this would be auto answered yes. I also created a card, so if I've checked like I don't have any childcare needs, I don't have any legal needs, that those are just going to auto default to no. The same with disability. If you say I don't have any health needs, right now we have the yeses auto defaulting and the prefer not to answers specific to disability, but we also want to do the no. So there's been a card created for that. The foster care one is auto answering. And then we also have a card for fixing why this thing comes in blank. There's just a back-end mapping thing we need to fix there. But on the free screening, on the skill screening, there are the basic skill screening tool has questions specific to reading, writing, speaking, and I think it's listening. I can't remember, listening, understanding. And so we are auto mapping the yes answers. So when they check, they have that I need help or I can't do this on my own related to reading English or writing English. These are auto populating those. I also have as part of the no one to auto populate. If they say they can do all these things on their own on the basic skill screening tool, we'll auto default the none of these describe me answer. That wasn't coming through. So we're tuning up the last little bit of the auto mapping of these. So it's more of reviewing the information. And we let them know at the top, we know we collected a lot of this information during pre-screen. We just want to confirm that it is correct. It was really written in a situation-based way and pre-screening. So to be, equitable and make sure have a space for them to validate before they submit this application. We want to represent our interpretations of their situation-based questions and pre-screening. And when I say that situation-based questions, I'm talking about on the Getting to Know You Better page. They have all these types of situations. So a lot of these are what's mapping. And then if they hit the program eligibility as a youth, they're more direct questions. And those are also mapping to the private information page as well. All of it kind of rolls forward. So if you're saying something here, like if you're a youth and you have childcare, it's auto assuming that barrier and passing it through the pre-screening program eligibility and into the application. So I'm going to go through these questions, but that is most of the questions were. So I wanted to explain it in a holistic way instead of choppy through each question. Well, I'll talk about it in the questions, but wanted to give that larger, broader overview. Again, we do have a card. We're going to standardize all the career planner guidance text to a standard UI. This one was specific to the childcare thing, not populating the right way. So we have 2 cards working on passing that information forward that will make sure those are auto populating correctly. The comment on the social security number. I have that noted for the state. They're very aware of this and working on being mindful of the change in the social security number collection policy. I don't think that's anything too new to any of us. We've talked about that before. This social security number only does display to the career planner when a customer is completing their application. It's not something we're collecting. It is a piece the career planner will collect in person when they're doing that application review. A lot of people said it's good. This was specific to the basic skills screening tool, helping to auto-populate that English language learner question set, the trouble with English. So that question will always display. It's kind of a confirming the English language learner eligibility / priority questions. But we are going to better auto-populate that. So it's more of a review because everybody will have done this. So it's more of review this is, correct. I'm going to leave that red. And then the selective service number. We have a card to kind of clean up the question text a little bit. Now that I saw it on the page, it wasn't always clear. This question actually, this one was good. The selective service number question changes based on how they answer the selective service question. So they can say, like I think the question on the pre-screening is, do you meet the selective service requirements? Do I still have a pre-screen open? Yeah, hold on. Let me quickly get there. So it's, do you meet the selective service requirements? If you say yes, you can enter in your number. And then the question we see in the notebook of the customer identified they meet the selective service requirements, please provide the selective service number displays. If they provided their selective service number here, it should auto-populate on the application. If they say no, we're not asking them to try to get their selective service number. And when the career planner, sorry, trying to get the UI. When the career planner is doing the application, the selective service number question is only displayed to the career planner. We don't ask it again in the application to the customer. It's going to be on the career planner to validate that and determine whether they meet the registry or they meet the requirements or they need a waiver. So if the customer says no, the text here will display differently. We're going to say, give me just 1 second. The customer indicated they do not meet the selective service requirements. Please work with the customer to determine if they qualify for a waiver and verified they're not registered for selective service. So we're giving more direction to the career planner that they might not know that they are registered. So we want to check that first, and then work to see if they really truly aren't registered. Should they be registered because they're still, of the right age, or do they get a waiver? And then if they say they don't know, then the question is, the customer indicated they do not know if they meet with them. Please, similar to down here, please work with them to determine if they are registered or if they qualify for a waiver. And then we'll always auto-populate the selective service number if they provided it in the pre-screening. Go ahead, Cassie.
Yes, I have a question about the waivers. So currently, the local area that I'm in uses a waiver depending on the AJC. So is that going to change? Or will that
No,
be, will that be updated, or is it going to remain the same, or the policy is just going to switch a little bit?
I think it's going to remain the same.
Okay.
And that's the other piece that I have with this question here is we also need a box for them to check that they have a waiver. So
Okay.
the requirement is going to be they need to enter a selective service number or flag that they have a waiver. But they
Cool.
have to meet one or the other to meet eligibility.
Cool. Okay. Thanks. Sounds great.
And then I created a card to standardize we can't have people saying I prefer not to answer with other answer options, or none of these apply to me with other ones selected. So I have a card to put some business logic in to clean that up. And then this is the same one about the childcare thing. We have a card to get that auto-populating correctly. I see I have a couple of chats. I'm going to read those. So there are if they trigger the dislocated worker track, there are questions. There are questions specific to employment. Hold on, this is not a dislocated worker. I need my me see if
Yeah,
I
I think
can
I know
get,
what you're saying. There's ones, it's
yeah,
like there were other people, it was a large group of people, or my company closed down for good, or there are specific um like
yes.
dislocated worker questions to that. I just didn't know if someone would know, like, because and of course there's the standard, I don't have a job now and I need to find one. I'm looking for one. So I know that that's the option that most people probably would take, but I just didn't know if we want to try to guide the customer to find
Yes.
out if they were not a pending layoff, notice of layoff, but that they have like that they don't have a job right now, but that it's specifically because they were laid off. So I don't know, might be kind of like splitting hairs. I just didn't know if there's a way if that captures that then prompts the questions that are more specific to potential dislocated worker classification and eligibility. Like these questions here. That's someone that did close or did other people get let go. Is only that question, like that I'm being told I'm going to get laid off. Is that the only question in the pre-screen that prompts or and that would bring up those specific dislocated worker questions, or if they also answer the question, um, um,
It is just the questions on this
okay,
page, but there's a larger question. Like, so if I say no, then it's going down other tracks that you can trigger a dislocated worker.
got it. Okay. Yeah,
So
those,
that's,
okay. So that's in the program eligibility. I got it. So I was
yep.
thinking in the earlier part in the work experience screen where it asks like, it'll still lead them, they'll still get a chance to answer the questions that
Mhm.
you have up here if on that previous screen, um the one, where it's work experience. So in there, if they just say I don't have a job and I'm looking for one, will it ask them about if they were laid off or lost their
Yeah.
job, possibly, all fault their own, or does it only in the program eligibility tab page, will it only ask those questions about, were you laid off? Is it a closure? If they select the one that says, I'm
This
I've been told I'll be laid off soon, or will
this
either
does
one of
not
those have?
dictate the this does not dictate any questions.
Oh, okay,
um that because they I could have a part-time job right now, but that doesn't mean that it's like a part-time job I'm making way less than the job I just got laid off from 2 months ago and still qualify for dislocated worker,
right. They could have been
or
laid
I could
off.
meet one of the other dislocated worker criteria.
Oh,
So
good. Okay.
this is going to come into play more in the getting started assessment
Yeah.
as we're like trying to learn more about their past work experience and the question sets we show them there, but it is not trying to determine it's
Oh, okay.
not in no implications to potential dislocated worker eligibility.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to make sure.
No, I
Again,
think that's a great question.
if we're guiding somebody through that, and we know because we did like pre-layoff workshops, so we know this person was laid off. Like, oh no, select. We need to guide them to select one or the other. I just wanted to make sure. Like, is there logic tied in where it'll prompt that? So, sounds like not. So, thank you very much for clarifying that.
Yeah, definitely. And then just so everybody knows, like then once you get to the application, there are a lot more questions that you have to answer now that you've triggered the dislocated worker track. This is just a general gauge of would you potentially meet dislocated worker? And then once we get into the application, that's where we're asking more specific questions based on the specific type of dislocated worker track you're going
Yeah.
down. So we're either looking for a dislocation job or determining the type of like the displaced homemaker, not displaced homemaker. Is it displaced homemaker? The homemaker one.
That is displaced home worker. That could
Okay.
be, that's one of the
Yeah.
dislocated worker options. That one
So
or two.
there are question sets there that are trying to determine like, is it because of the different ways in which you could be a displaced homemaker. Um, so definitely, as we continue like hitting the application, know that this employment page right now, I don't think this is what kind of person is this? This is an adult and youth, so they're not seeing the dislocated worker questions. But if they would see the dislocated worker questions, see if I can save that. then they can trigger. We have a bug here we're working on. We need the employment piece to show up for the dislocation job. But then as we get into these other ones, that's not the right one. We'll have more question sets around here too. We have a bug that we're working on when we trigger the dislocated worker in just the application and not the pre-screening. It's not pulling in the right question sets, but there are more question sets that show. That bug is being addressed, but if you trigger them traditionally through the pre-screening, then all the questions are showing. I think we still have more time to go through the next page. Education. Just another note to the career planner guidance text. So we do have that card to standardize the UI. Then should we add high school diploma by 12th grade selection, or should there be an option for earned high school diploma because somebody graduated early? I'm going to bring this up to the state, but I also wanted to get the input from you guys. Like, how would you handle that? Because we have if somebody graduated high school early, would we want an option there, or would that fall in I earned a high school equivalency certificate like GED, or do we just have like I earned my high school diploma outside of? I don't know if you guys can see the list here very well. I hate to have too many options. I finished 12th grade but didn't get a diploma. I finished 12th grade but got a diploma. I graduated early and got a diploma, and I earned a high school equivalency certificate like a GED. How often are you guys getting people who graduated early in, and how would you handle that, like reporting that as the highest level of education they completed?
I guess my question here would be to Mark, if he's still on, how does that get reported in the Pearl? Because that would probably be the easiest way to figure out what we actually need to have.
I think he's back, but I don't know. I'm pulling it up because I'm assuming that's what he's going to want to look at. Any thoughts off the top of your head, Mark?
I actually missed the question though.
Oh, somebody had asked how for the highest level of education,
Uh-huh.
how do we handle it if they graduated early with a diploma? Like if they graduated in 10th or 11th grade with their high school diploma.
Well, I think David said it below. It's the end outcome that you document. So yeah, we see people, nowadays that'll graduate high school at what they would particularly be, as a sophomore or junior rather than a senior. That's the highest level. It's not a years based thing. It's a high school diploma or certificate or associates or bachelor's or whatever.
Or like I think Crystal alluded to it, said it earlier too. It's you've satisfied the
Yeah.
credits that
Yep.
for all 12th grades. Technically, you just went summer school and did them early. I think so. Maybe you probably could leave it as is. I mean, it's a good
And
question,
I
but
think,
yeah, I don't know how often it
Yeah, you
happens.
could just put high
yeah,
school.
Mark, my point was, Mark, is what has to be reported in the Pearl, because going anything above and beyond that seems to be not necessary.
Yeah, I know she's scrolling through it. I'm trying to
I
kind of.
think I have it listed, the Pearl number listed.
Because I was
Do I?
thinking if they
Maybe I
got their
don't.
high school diploma, just put down high school diploma. It shouldn't matter what grade they got it in. They got it 10th or 11th, long they received it.
Yeah, but when you're that should be and I don't know why my Pearl won't open up. Sorry. Damn thing. So I can't try to find that specific, but up until you get your high school diploma, you are to identify ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. But there it is right there,
Yeah, where it
and
said
got the diploma.
I earned
Oh,
Yeah.
but
high
This is
school
the
equivalent.
list they're
that's in the working
questioning.
document. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I earn a high school equivalent certificate like a GED,
Right.
I wouldn't even, you can almost put that, but that probably need to be worded a little bit because if it's not a GED, they got their diploma, that should suffice.
Highest education level completed at entry. Oh, we need a
There it
grade
is.
number. So grade completed.
Let me ask you this, I guess, the knowing they need a number, if someone is ahead of schedule, let's say I start taking, because we see this all the time, my son and nieces, nephews did it, start taking high school classes in grade school. So they're ahead of when they even start it and enroll in high school. Let's say they're halfway through their high school and they're a freshman. Would you say they completed ninth grade or 10th grade?
Well, if they currently in ninth grade, that's where they at. I think
But the
completed is
question is completed, not where are they at.
okay, then it would be eighth grade. They didn't
Yeah.
complete ninth grade.
But if they've done, let's say the requirement is, I don't even know I don't remember back far enough. Sorry, high school. Let's say it's equivalent of 7 classes each semester. So 14 classes get you through ninth grade. Let's say you've done 28 classes and you're still in your ninth grade. Would you not be able to say they've completed 10th grade? Because that gets to this 12th grade that they completed before actually 12 years of education.
Yeah, it's tricky because there's
Uh,
chronology and then there's, the question if it's asking how much quote unquote
Yeah,
training or education have you completed? If you've completed the credits because of the instructional, the content, um, and skills benchmarks of a ninth grader, or 10th grader, or 12th grader, I could see it going either way. You could say, well, I'm in eighth grade, but if the question is asking, or I'm in 10th grade or 11th grade, I'm a junior, but I graduated as a junior, then, there's the chronological, where you are at in time. Um,
I,
and then there's if it's asking what you've completed, well, I kind of see what you're saying. I mean, you could you say that you've completed, 12th grade or 11th grade because you have, you've taken those courses early and you've completed
yeah,
the
I
request.
think,
I
I
think
mean,
that might cause a lot of confusion too.
yeah, I think up until they graduate, you have 4 years in high school.
mhm.
I would be okay saying ninth, 10th, 11th grade is a year from August to June or whatever, school goes through. And then just if they happen to complete early, then you would say you've completed 12 years for that question in the Pearl. Now, I think for purposes of our system, I like what you're doing here, Olivia. Just say I completed high school.
Yeah, and then we can
You can
just,
program it to say 12 grades in the Pearl.
yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. This
Okay.
would
Yeah.
put 12th
So,
grade and then
yep.
for, because it's doing two Pearl elements on the back end. So we would put 12 here and one here.
Yeah. So I think we can handle that. I think it's clear to just use,
Mhm.
years of grade 9, 10, 11, 12, and whatever year you've last completed is what all of you would submit, or the individual, if they're completing it, would submit, because that's all they're going to know. They're not going to.
Right. Yeah.
And then that's how you would explain it, and the back end programming can cover for situations where someone gets their diploma early, because it wouldn't apply if they take longer, right? You never completed 12th grade, then all of a sudden you get the high school equivalency.
Right. Yeah, if they
You would just say, well, how far did you go before you did that? Well, I only completed 2 years and I dropped out. So you would
mhm.
put in 10, and then you would, on another question, is when you would indicate they got their GED or other high school equivalency, right?
Yeah, I think we're not doing that, but I think we might need to. I think we would assume, yeah.
Well, I think that question, the 407, I think you're still going to have to enter a number. So for a dropout, you would say, well, how far did you complete? And they would say, well, I was
Hmm.
16, second, I was in my junior year, so I completed sophomore 10 years. And then the next question, 408, you would say, oh, okay, well, great. You went back and got your high school equivalency. Otherwise, that question would end up being empty, and the answer to that would be no school grades completed. Well, I hope we never have anyone come into our program that have
Right.
no schools would ever answer zero.
Yep. I have a note to build
Okay,
off that one too, because if they picked I finished 12th grade but didn't get a diploma, we would put 12 and then
right,
0 for the next one, which is like they didn't.
right. They failed.
Mhm.
They got through all 12 years. They completed their senior year, but got it,
But yeah,
enough
I didn't
enough
earn.
F's or D's or whatever. They didn't get their diploma. So at
Hmm.
that point in time, maybe that's when they come to us, and they maybe are in summer school to try to get that equivalency, but you would still say they completed 12 years.
All right. So we are right at time. I'm looking at the chat. Is this what the new service matrix looks like? This is the Pearl. Is that what you're talking about, Cassie?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is the Pearl. We have a service matrix in work.
Got it.
Um, but
Okay.
yeah, I have the Pearl document open.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, it
it
just
looks
looked
Yeah,
familiar. It just looked familiar. So I'm just
yeah.
like, okay.
this
So
is our playbook, everyone. So when you ask us a lot of these questions of why, well, we have to report these. So,
sorry,
but
sorry,
I think,
Mark.
no, no, no. Sorry to you that we have to do it this way. But what's great about 2.0 is this ability for Al, Olivia, all the programmers to interpret, because we have to report. It doesn't tell us how we have to ask the questions. We just have to be able to provide an answer. So we're
Mhm.
doing our best job to make it easier for all of you, easier for a participant to give an answer, and in the back end, we'll make it work. We do that some already with the current IWDS that you all don't know about.
Okay.
And from a technical assistance standpoint, you don't really need to. But if someone has this document in front of them, they might be wondering, well, I don't remember that question. Well, we might have figured it out some other way that was easier or clearer and asked it in a different way. So,
Sounds fine.
but yeah,
Thank you.
anyone wants to go look at that document, there's one for ETPL as well. It's a ETA 9171. Have at it, have fun, because it's and even it, as detailed as it is, it leaves questions that are some of the things we go back to DOL and they sometimes don't have the clarification, because that's what doesn't come with this a lot of times is definitions.
Yep.
The guidance Teagle maybe provides some of that, but we sometimes have to interpret it,
Okay.
and appreciate all of your input locally to help us do that.
Thank you.
So
You're
we
welcome.
still have a couple pages that we haven't reviewed. I will be reaching out to people if I have additional questions, and then through the next couple of sessions, if there's extra time, I will be on the agenda to kind of talk through and highlight any that I have specific questions or needs on, or I think would be good for a group discussion. But I will reach out to you individually if I need more information or guidance on any of the notebook comments you left. We will make sure these are all addressed with comments or letting you know we're creating cards on them. Throughout the rest of this week, we'll be getting I still think like I have to look at these ones. And I haven't looked through all the pre-screening ones. I don't think I even got to this one. I got to some of them, but not all of them. Um, so we're going to continue doing that. But the UAT is closed. We are going to be resetting the UAT environment. It's a final reminder that stuff will be going away. Always, though, feel free to reach out to us if you do have any questions or thoughts, or you happen to get back into it and go through application and anything comes up. Definitely feel free to send us an email to let us know your questions or thoughts on things as we continue to work through this process. I thank you guys all so much for your time today, Does anybody have any final questions before we close the call?
Do we have any homework before our next meeting?
No homework. I ask that you all rest up, rest your fingers, and get ready for a very intense UAT session next week.
Sorry, I had to
A
come
lot
off
of stuff.
mute and express my delight. Thank you.
That make two of us.
Good. Well, I'm gonna give you a little bit of breathing, but it is. I will note it's getting pretty intense with UAT next week. I can show you what's on the schedule. If folks have to jump, definitely feel free to. But I can show you what we got. Next week we're going to be UATing all of these things. ETPL, training plan renewal. That will be with a subset of group service, career plan transitions, follow-up exit summary, service template. These two will be state tools, so you won't have to worry about those, but we're going to have these going. And then we have a lot more stuff teed up the following week. So,
So
if,
would we have some in our area who just do ETPL stuff but don't really haven't been doing the rest of these. Should I invite her for that meeting, you
we
think?
are going to have a special session, and Kelly Trimble is reaching out to folks. We will not do this one on our Thursday discovery call. We're going to set up a special one-off with like the folks you're talking about. So if you can make sure to provide Kelly Trimble, those folks will make sure they're involved. And then we're going to really be focusing on these three services is going to be really, really big. Then career plan transition and follow-up exit. These are the three we'll be focusing on with you guys next week. These two are state tools to manage services in the system, not on a career plan, but at a high level, like the services available. So these will be more state UAT. So that is just a little preview of what we have coming. With that, if nobody has any other questions, I will let y'all head off for all the other work I'm sure you have to head to. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.